So, as a potential solution, what if, I mean, to solve the problem within law schools, what if we ban merit-based scholarships and make the schools actually charge everybody the same price? They have this nominal tuition that, only the lowest performing students in each school are actually going to pay. Some of these schools are giving merit-based scholarships to 90% of their class. Half the class is there on a full ride. 40% of the class is getting some kind of a discount. And then you got 10% of people that are footing the bill for this entire school. What, can we do that? Is that a possible thing that you could get the American Bar Association to just say, hey, this isn't fair that we offer these merit-based scholarships. Let's actually charge people what we say we're going to charge them.
It is on the table. This is why we look at everything through the lens of both accreditation and regulation and the incentives. Because I think there's really good reason to want to ban these practices, or at minimum ensure that the pricing is more equitable. Maybe it's not completely equal, or maybe it is. I lean towards a single price. Whether that's possible on from an antitrust perspective, I know that's an open question, and that's beyond my expertise. But there's other ways also to address the issues of price inequity. So we've got proposals right now before the ABA that looks at increasing transparency related to this. So what we want to see is something called a frequency distribution table for how much people pay, and then breaking that out both by class, as well as by gender, as well as by race and ethnicity. And I know you've talked in the show before about the NALP bimodal distribution. And so you can make a distribution curve like that salary distribution chart from a frequency distribution table. And so what we want is frequency distribution tables for how much people pay for tuition and how much they borrow. So that way we can create those charts, because we think visualizing that will actually make law school faculty and their administrators confront the fact that their pricing structure is actually happening at the school level with this. And we've had success with this in the past. So when we first started the organization, we said, on average, people are not getting law jobs at the same rate that schools are claiming. And everyone's like, yeah, but not at my school. And until the data were actually publicly available in the 509s, and that's a big reason we push for those, until those data were available, people were in denial. And the same thing happened with conditional scholarships. Oh, yeah, conditional scholarships are a problem, but that's not happening at our school. Oh, well, it turns out that it is. And then as a result, once there was heightened transparency around that, we saw a sharp reduction in the number of schools offering those, as well as an increase in the percentage of people who are actually keeping their conditional scholarships. And so I think transparency can have a really big impact here. But then there's two other standards that the ABA could start to enforce using those data. So basically, law schools under Standard 205 and 206 have to create an environment that is equitable based on race and gender, as well as other protected classes. And in my opinion, a school that charges the black students on average significantly more than their white students is not compliant with that standard. And so I'd like to see the ABA, and we've asked them to start enforcing that standard in that way. And there is some interest in it, but we need the data first to actually.
That would be amazing on the 509 reports. I mean, they love to talk about diversity, and they love to show off, their people of color that they have admitted. But if they were also forced to show that those people of color pay more to go there, or graduate with more debt, or have worse job outcomes,
or bar passage rates, is that already tracked? Maybe the bar passage rates based on ethnicity. I feel like it is, but yeah.
Not at the ABA level. There's state level data that doesn't break it out by school, and not all states release those data.
But then you got to break it out by school, like you're saying, because everybody thinks their school is special, and hey, I work here and it's great, and they don't realize what their own administration is doing.
Yeah, I think it gets more complicated with questions as to whether that should be, because I think a lot of those data could be misused by racists. I think we've seen that happen in other places with race-based data, and for the same reasons why it probably wouldn't be a good idea to break out admissions by LSAT within the school. But I think there could be a live debate on that, and I can see someone coming down on either side.
I mean, I have to step back and just say, well, okay, I guess it could be misused, but at the same time, information is information, right? And you can prompt questions like, well, why is that? What can we do about that? How should we address it?
Right. I
don't
think
know,
that's
it's
a
tough.
fair take. Yeah.
From a consumer perspective, I mean, we never stop on the show advising people to just not pay for law school. The way the game works now, if you make the decision that you're going to go to school on a full ride, you can go to school on a full ride. You just turn down those higher ranked schools that want to charge you full price. You go to a slightly lower ranked regional school. Probably there's no difference, by the way, between the school ranked 90th and the school ranked 60th. There's no practical difference. Certainly no educational difference between those schools. You go to the lower ranked school. That school is happy to have you because you're going to support their medians like you're talking about. And then that school lets you go for free. So, I mean, from a consumer education standpoint, that I feel like that's what we're trying to do, is to just convince people like, hey, this is the game. It's a bad game and they should definitely fix the game. But at least from one individual student's perspective, if you just make the decision that you're not paying tuition for law school, then you've at least solved it for yourself.
Right. And this is the thing we're trying to do as an organization. I distinguished earlier between our policy work and our provision of tools to pre-law students and others. And we want to remake the system, but at the same time, we want to democratize access to information, so that way the only people who know that you can negotiate scholarships are not just the people who have the wealthy consultants that they've hired. Which is why I think a free podcast like this, that is continuously encouraging them to look at themselves as part of a transaction. That I think that's a huge benefit towards that.